Sometimes the story that makes you famous is not even the full story. Sometimes the real story begins after the heartbreak, after the embarrassment, after the world has already formed an opinion about you. And that is what Reesa Teesa is telling us now. I want us to watch, relax. I'll be right back. You all remember Reesa Teesa, the lady that wrote Who the F Did I Marry? I'll be right back to talk to you about the full story and what she's doing now.
Stand in your power, own every minute, every hour. This is your story, starting now. Stand in your power, let the world see how. Stand in your power, stand in your power now. Turn up your voice, your truth, your wow. Stand in your power, this is your channel now.
Today we are talking about Reesa Teesa, the woman behind the viral Who the F Did I Marry series. Remember that woman? Most of us remember that book. I won't say that book, sorry. Most of us remember that story. That story that took over the internet. We were all watching. That story had us hooked. It was a 52-part series. People were watching part after part, trying to understand how a woman could end up in a marriage where the person she thought she knew turned out to be someone completely and totally different. But now, Reesa Teesa or Reesa is not just telling us what happened in the marriage. This woman is telling us what happened inside of her. And that is the part I really want us to pay attention to today. Because sometimes we focus so much on the man, the betrayals, the lies, the drama, the ending, that we forget to ask deeper questions. What part of me allowed this? What part of me ignored the signs? What part of me wanted love so badly that I abandoned my own inner knowing? And women, that is where the healing, the true healing begins. Okay? That is where the true healing begins. So let's look at what People's Magazine had to tell us. I'm going to read it a little bit, so just bear with me. Then we will go and crack the case down as we should. So hold on 1 second while I share my screen. So I was walking down the street of the internet and I saw this and I was like, oh wow. She had said something about writing a book, but she said something about a movie coming on. But then she decided to write a tell-all book. After realizing she had nothing to lose, let's read. Who the F did I marry was the question that Reesa Teesa Johnson first asked the internet. Ultimately introducing her to the world and viral fame. In the viral 52-part series, Johnson recounted the event that happened, blah, 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 with her ex-husband that she met in 2020 that led to the end of the marriage. In the videos, totaling more than 8 hours, she explained feeling as if the person she married had turned into someone she didn't recognize, and claimed that he lied about many aspects of his life, his identity, and his family, which the man later came on YouTube to rebut. He said everything was a lie, blah, 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 blah. Now, in the 2 years since that series went viral, and that series amassed over 4 million views combined, this woman is 41-year-old. She has set out to answer a different question. What the F do I do now? Now, this content creator and storyteller tells people that in the month following her viral fame, she knew she had to capitalize on the moment and wanted to take her story as far as possible. Mm. So she later signed with CAA Talent Agency, began working on a book, and even sold the rights to be made into a TV show. Now, 2 years later, the book is finally ready to hit the shelves, noting that the lengthy social media series explored what happened in a marriage, but the new novel explores her, who she is become, who she is becoming. So the Who the F Did I Marry series was really about the year and a half of my life. That's what she said, with this one individual. But there's so much more to me that led me to make the decision to be in that relationship, she explained. I love this. I love this so much. There were times while writing chapters that I cried. Ooh, this reminds me of my own book. So I wrote this book, Scarred and Unashamed. It's my story, and listen, that book was the therapy that I needed. I wrote every chapter of that book with my hand, and as I was writing, I was crying. Listen, I released so much while writing that book. The book is raw. It is everything that happened to me, no lies, no nothing. At some point, my mom said, take the book down, take that back down. People don't know that part of you, and I don't want people to know that part of you. I said, no, that is my truth. I am telling it, and I really don't care who reads it. Okay. But then coming back to Risa, she said, what did she say? She said, she said, while writing chapters, I cried. That is a moment that I can really relate to, because while writing every chapter of my book, I did cry. And that cry for me was moment of really understanding the things that I went through. And yes, at some point as well, I kind of wanted to not, release the book. But then I just went ahead and did it. So she said she had some moments where I second guessed how vulnerable I wanted to be. Tessa tells people that writing the book took a certain type of rawness that she wasn't fully prepared for. It takes a type of vulnerability that I did not know before, and yet I am proud that I pushed through, she says. That's the thing, I'm proud that I pushed through, instead of being like, no, I'm not saying that, or no, I'm not putting that in there. She says that putting her feelings on paper felt very different from making a social. Listen, I love the fact that I saw this story today, because I was just talking to a lady this morning. We were very early this morning. I was just talking to her and I was saying, listen, you need to begin to write how you feel. You need to write your story, because the moment you write your story, it is out there. It is who you are. We had a lengthy conversation about this morning. I didn't even know I was going to see this whole write-up, this story. Having that conversation with that woman this morning and reading this story just tells me everything we said was on point. She said putting her feelings on paper felt very different from making a social media series, but she still leaned on her biggest strength, being authentic and being vulnerable. We have been taught, hey, you want to keep it to yourself. Don't share it. It's private. It's a secret. Some things are private, but in writing this book, my goal was to make sure no one feels as alone as I did when I finally did the 50 parts, she says. I want the readers to resonate with something in that book. To do that, I was going to have to be very raw. Wow. She said, while writing the book, Johnson realized I have a lot of work I need to do. I have a history and relationships that I'm not necessarily proud of, that I never really stopped to look at. Wow, this is your mo. This is your MO, sorry. This is your habit. This is how you behave in relationships. And maybe that's why you haven't been successful, because there are things about you that you need to change. Interesting. I would leave all of this for you all to go back and, read. But it is interesting because this was what I was just talking to a lady about this morning. This morning, I was telling her about my story, and I was telling her also about my book that I wrote my book. How can she write her book and not offend people? And I said to her, you just have to write it. You will still offend people whether you don't write it or you write it. So go ahead and do what you need to do. And reading Reesa Teesa's story is a confirmation. In fact, I'm going to send this story to her today. So, according to people, Reesa Teesa's is preparing. She's preparing to release this book, which in August 18. Okay, she's preparing to release the book August 18 this month, and it's good that we go ahead and read the book. Remember that 52 TikTok series gained 400 million views. That series was about what happened according to her. But Reesa says this new book is about herself. The new book is different. She said the viral series explored what happened in the marriage, but this new book explores her. And that right there is powerful. Because many women can tell you what someone did to them. It's easy to say, yes, they did this to me. They did this. They can tell you how they were lied to. We as women, we can tell you how we were betrayed. A lot of women, we can tell you how we were embarrassed, abandoned, manipulated, how we were used. But the harder work begins when you sit down and you say, let me look at myself too. It's easy to blame the other person, right? Let me look at myself too. But I'm not going to blame myself. I'm looking at myself not to blame myself. I'm looking at myself not to shame myself, but to understand who I really am. So Reesa said writing the book took a level of rawness that she was not prepared for. She talked about crying while writing certain parts of that book. She talked about how vulnerable she was. And honestly, let me tell you, that makes a lot of sense because telling the internet a story is one thing. But when you now go back and you sit quietly with yourself and you begin writing the truth about your patterns, your own patterns, your own wounds, your own choices, and your own healing, then you begin to understand the part you played in the whole process. And that is a different kind of courage. That, in my opinion, is someone who is sitting with herself and going through emotional reflection. What stands out to me most is that Reesa said while she was writing the book, she realized she still had a lot of work to do. For me, that is such an honest thing to say. Because a lot of people want healing to look like, oh, she kept quiet. A lot of people want healing to look perfect. They want the woman to leave the bad situation. They want her to get the glow up, make the money. They want her to go viral. They want her to get all the opportunities. Then suddenly she is healed. But that is not how healing works. You can leave the relationship and you still have to heal from what made you stay. You can expose the lies and you still have to sit with the part of you that wanted to believe those lies. Why do I say that? I say that because we are evolving. Whether you are still in the relationship or you are not in the relationship, you are evolving. Yes, you can move on publicly and you still be breaking down privately. Because healing is not a straight line journey. It goes in different ways. You can be celebrated by strangers, and inside yourself, inside your room, you're still trying to forgive yourself for the choices and the decisions that you made. And I think that is why so many women were able to connect with Reesa Teesa's story. It's not just about one marriage. No, it's about the moment a woman wakes up and realizes, I don't want to keep repeating the old version of myself. What do they say about insanity? When you keep doing the same thing and expecting this new result or a better result, that is madness. So this moment is about a woman who wakes up and realizes, you know what? I need to evolve. I don't want to keep repeating this version of myself, because sometimes the heartbreak is not only about losing the person. Mm-mm. It's not only about you losing the person. Sometimes the heartbreak is realizing how far you've drifted away from yourself while trying to be loved by this same person. So, what is the life lesson here? The life lesson here is not simply watch out for liars. No. The life lesson here is yes, your discernment matters. Yes, the red flag matters. Yes, women need to pay attention when something does not feel right. But, the deeper lesson here is, do not let your desire for love silence your relationship with yourself. Because many women are not fooled because they are foolish. No, they are fooled because they are hopeful. They are trusting. They are believing. A lot of women are fooled because they are tired. A lot of women go through these things because they want family, they want companionship, they want that partnership. They want to believe the best in the person that they dreamed for. They want the dream they prayed for to finally be real. And when you want something so badly enough, you can start seeing things from a rose-colored glasses. You can start editing the truth. You can start explaining away what your spirit is telling you. Then you can say, maybe I'm overthinking. You begin to tell yourself, maybe it just needs time. Maybe it's healing. Oh, maybe I should be more understanding. Maybe. Then you start telling yourself, nobody is perfect. And while all of this can sound really mature, sometimes it is really you abandoning yourself. It is self-abandonment dressed up as patience. That is where the real lesson is. A woman must learn the difference between grace and denial. Grace says, I see you, I see your humanity. But denial says, I will ignore the truth so I don't have to start over. But I've come to tell you today that starting over does not kill anybody. And many of us have done what I just spoke about. Not because we are weak, but because starting over can feel terrifying. When you think about starting over, you'll be like, I've already built a dream with this person. I've stayed with this person for 11 years, 10 years. I've built a dream. Where do I start from? Now let us bring this home. Because this is where the real thing begins. I want you to ask yourself a few questions. I don't want you to judge yourself. I don't want you to blame yourself. I don't want you to beat up yourself. Not at all. But I want you to understand yourself better. So the first question I want you to ask yourself is, what did I know early that I talked myself out of? Because most of the time, women know, we know. Maybe you did not know the full story. Maybe you did not have all the facts. But your spirit will tell you. There was a feeling. You had the feeling. Your intuition was speaking to you. Then there was a pause. There was something that just did not sit right with the whole situation. There was a moment when your body knew before your mind even had proof. And one of the biggest parts of healing is you learning to trust yourself again. Listen, one of my male friends, we got talking, And then he said to me, he said, Femi, you need to get married again. You need to get into a relationship. And I said to him, I said, at the time, that was some years ago, I said to him, with everything that I have gone through, I made that decision to marry that person by myself. Even though I was warned not to marry this person, I loved this person and I said, this is my decision. Whatever happens, I will face it. So when my friend told me and said, you need to get into another relationship, I said, it's not getting into another relationship that is the issue. It is me trusting myself to make the right decision, trusting myself to choose the right person again. So one of the biggest part of healing is learning to trust yourself again. Now, not in a paranoid way, no. Not in a bitter way, absolutely not. But in a grounded way. You need to trust yourself in a grounded way. When something feels off, please pause. Don't rush to explain it away. Look at it. Wear your glasses. Look very well. Don't rush to protect the fantasy. Write down what you are feeling. Ask yourself questions. How does this make me feel? Then observe the behavior. Is this a trend? Is this something that this person does? Because love should not require you to disconnect from your own discernment. That's number one question I want you to ask yourself. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, what patterns do I keep repeating in relationships? Now, that question is the hard one because it is easier to talk about what they did, but what work have you done inside? It's harder to ask yourself, why does this kind of situation keep finding me? Why do I keep meeting this kind of people? Do you keep choosing emotionally unavailable people? Do you keep trying to prove your worth to someone? Do you keep becoming the fixer? Do you keep confusing intensity with intimacy? Do you keep staying because you have already invested too much time? Listen, if your answer is yes, I have been there because my answer has been yes to all this. Do you keep ignoring your own needs because you do not want to be seen as difficult? Now, like I said, I've been there. This is not a shame question. These are questions I had to ask myself to get my own personal freedom. All these questions are freedom questions because once you can name the pattern, then you can begin to break it. For example, if you are that woman that keeps getting attracted to emotionally unavailable men, you need to ask yourself question. What am I trying to prove to these unavailable men? Did I grow up with daddy issues? Why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men? Meanwhile, there are some men on the corner that would like you, that will want to break their head for you, that will worship the ground you walk on. So why am I attracting emotionally unavailable men? When you see that pattern in yourself, now you need to make the conscious effort to say, no, I would not go for this kind of people anymore. Rather, I will not go for where I am tolerated. I will begin to look at where I am celebrated. I will begin to look towards dating those men that really treats me well. Okay? So this is how you begin to break it. Third question. Am I more attached to the dream than reality? Meaning, are you attached to the potential than what you're seeing in front of you? This one will set somebody free. Sometimes we are not in love with the person anymore. Okay? We are in love with the version of that person that we created in our mind. We are in love with the family we imagined. We are in love with the the wedding we pictured. We are in love with the future we have planned. We are in love with the potential that we can build with this person, the woman we thought we would be beside these women. So this is a matter of what I wanted versus what I got. And when the reality does not match the dream, we keep trying to force the dream to survive. But healing sometimes means you saying, I still believe in love, but I will not destroy myself for a dream that requires me to disappear. Now, that is powerful. The fourth question you need to ask yourself: what part of me needs healing before I choose again? What part of me need it? Because listen, after betrayal, the goal is not just for you to go and start dating again. The goal is for you to become whole again. The goal is for you to enjoy your own company again. The goal is for you to know your own voice again, to rebuild your own confidence in yourself. The goal is for you to even now begin to learn your own boundaries. For you to stop seeing being single as punishment. For you to stop treating a relationship as proof that you have been chosen, because you have already been chosen, whether you like it or not, because you are valuable already. You don't need to prove your worth to emotionally unavailable men. You are already worthy. A relationship should add to your life. It should not become the place where you beg to be seen. So here's your practical step for today. Take out a journal and write 3 columns down. Column 1, what I ignored. Column 2, why I ignored it. Column 3, what I will do differently next time. I don't want you to rush it. Sit with it. Be honest with yourself. Think about it. Maybe you ignored the inconsistency because you were lonely. Maybe you ignored the disrespect because you wanted marriage. Maybe you ignored the confusion between what you did not want to start over. Let me put it this way. Maybe you ignored the confusion because you did not want to start over again. Maybe you ignored your guts because you did not trust yourself yet. I want you to write why you did the things that you did. Write it down. Now, whether it is right or true or false, it is not failure. All you are writing down is information. And when a woman turns pain into information, she becomes harder to manipulate, because now she knows herself. Now she understands who she is. Now she can recognize the pattern. Now she is not just reacting, she is healing strategically. She's moving forward with intentions. I have created a free reflection resource to help you look at the patterns you may be repeating, even in your own relationships. Because sometimes we do not realize how long we have been carrying wounds that are choosing for us. So, and that's the reason this free guide will help you reflect on the red flags you may have ignored, the dreams you may be holding on to, the boundaries you need to rebuild so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. So if you use the link in below in the description box, you can get the free resource. And if this situation feels familiar, if you are in a season when you are trying to heal, you are trying to rebuild your confidence, you are trying to understand your own patterns, you are trying to stand in your power again, I want to invite you to book a free discovery call. If you are ready to heal, rebuild your confidence, and stand in your power, book a free discovery call today using the link below. You do not have to keep figuring everything out alone. No, sometimes you just need a safe place to tell the truth, hear yourself clearly, and begin again with a lot of support. With that, I say, Reesa Teesa's story is not just about who did I marry, it is also about who am I becoming? And maybe that is a question some of us need to ask ourselves too. Femi, who are you becoming? Not who hurt me, not Femi who hurt you, not Femi who lied to you, not Femi who mistreated you, or not Femi who wasted your time. The question you need to be asking yourself is, who am I becoming after all this? Femi, who are you becoming? Because what happened to you may have shaped part of your story, but it does not get to define the rest of your life. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to rewrite the dream. You are allowed to start all over again, no matter how late it is, and you are allowed to stand in your power. My name is Femi Ayodele, and this is Yes Life Coaching, Woman Stand in Your Power. If this message spoke to you, share it with another woman who needs to remember that her story is not over. I will see you in the next one. Bye. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.